So, flashback about 1,000 years ago. Sunday was the annual remembrance of what we call Palm Sunday, which is the beginning of what we also refer to as Holy Week, in which Jesus is described as sitting on a colt, a donkey's colt, which means unbroken, which if you don't know anything about colts, they're very stubborn animals. They tend to be, so to have one that has not been trained, and then also one that's extremely young and yet willing to have someone sit on it is pretty unlikely. It's pretty uncommon. So you have that Jesus sitting on the back of that animal, that beast, and riding it into Jerusalem, in which people are throwing their coats down and waving palm branches, and they're saying a specific word, and what it is Hosanna. And what that means is save now, or save us now. Headed into the final week before Passover, all of the lambs that have been selected, that are about to be slaughtered for the purpose of remembering the death of the firstborn, the purchasing of the people of Israel being led out of Egypt, and them being brought out of slavery, and all those things are happening at the same time. You have this last week, and the religious leaders hear this, and they hear that happening, and they're like, tell Jesus, you need to stop them from saying this. Why? Because they're afraid that Rome is going to hear about, or the Roman leaders are going to hear about people saying this specific phrase to Jesus, expect an uprising, go in and destroy the temple, and take from them their religious and political influence over the Jews. That's what they're afraid of. And they have reason to believe that, because Hosanna, what they're saying, is actually a political claim. They're saying, save us now, not from our sin. They're saying, save us from our political adversaries, our oppression. Rescue us from the people who have taken our power away. What they want is someone who's going to come like a Samson with a jawbone and beat to death their oppressors. They want someone like a Gideon or a judge, or someone like Moses, who's going to lead them into peace and prosperity and liberty. That's what they want. However, Jesus has not come to do those things. Jesus has come so that he could die on a criminal's cross for the crime of blasphemy, the charge of blasphemy, and the charge of supposedly being the king of the Jews, according to what Pilate would place on the sign above his head, so that his perfect blood could cleanse us from our black-drenched sins. That's what he has come for. And we look back at that because we are in the 2 millennia future of that, looking back on it, being, what kind of fools were they thinking that Jesus was going to rescue them? He obviously wasn't there for that. But we have a clarity that they didn't have, thinking. But we don't have that clarity, because the thing is, every single electoral cycle coming up, we think that same thing about whoever our candidate is. That if we put them up into the White House, the congressional chamber, into the Senate, that they're going to protect us from the evil, oppressive ideology, politics, adversaries that are over there on that side of the aisle. We put this person up, they're going to rescue us. They're going to save us now and give us a better future for our kids. Give us a better future for our nation. We're going to make this country great again. Or we are going to, whatever your thing is. If we would just listen to the academics, if we would just get better education, if we could just get a college degree, if we could pay off our house, if we could buy a house before we're 30, or get a car, get a girlfriend, get married, if we could finally have our kids, or we could finish off this adoption process, that finally life will be better than it is now. And we can be the best person that we can be. We can live our best life. And Jesus, in that moment, hearing these people telling him, "Save us now," had the self-restraint necessary to tell them, "No, I'm not here for a political salvation. That's not why I'm here." And in fact, later they're going to choose a person named Barabbas over him to be released, because he had a track record of giving them what they wanted, a political figurehead, someone who's going to lead a revolution, a murderer, a thief, a criminal. They're going to choose him over Jesus, because what they want is better in their own minds than what he has to offer. But see, even if you are free from whatever your chosen oppression is, you still have the problem of sin. We also are so free to admit the fact that everyone's imperfect, but we refuse to accept the idea that all these imperfect people are what causes the things that oppress us. Even if all the people are the same color, even all the same people are the same political party, even if everyone's from the same nation, even if everyone is from the same neighborhood, disagreement, racism, sexism, brutality, oppression, drugs, all of that will still be there, because of the fact that if you put two people in the same room, the first thing they start thinking about is how to get ahead of the other. That's the human condition. We need to be free from sin. Rather than give the people the short-term political solutions they wanted, he gave them the long-term supernatural, spiritual decision that they needed. And I would hope that seeing that would remind us to look deeper past what this year's budget constraints are and into the eternal perspective. That's why we remember Holy Week. As far as being on the church calendar, that's why we remember Holy Week, is we're supposed to spend this week now reflecting on, what have I been putting ahead of Jesus? What political ideologies, what personal excuses, what family chaoses have I put ahead of Jesus' mission of saving sinners? And how can I put those back into the correct order again? You're supposed to spend this week praying about those very things. So I hope that you will. I hope that you will take the remainder of this week up until even Thursday night. If you've never participated in an actual Passover ceremony or a Last Supper ceremony on a Thursday night when Jesus would have been doing it with his, I recommend it. It's a good idea. It's a good idea to put yourself into that mindset, to remember Jesus isn't here to sit in the White House. So, just something to think about as you're going through this week, as you're going through until Easter Sunday coming up. And I hope that if there's a Good Friday service, go to it. If there's an Easter Sunday morning service near you, you need to go to it. You need to see, hear, and experience the story of Jesus, so that you can respond to it the way that he planned, rather than trying to front load it with whatever your plans are.